"Mom, you're just here enjoying your time." That's what my son said. Not to me, about me. Like I wasn't sitting 3 feet away with coffee going cold in my hands and my brother's funeral program still folded in my purse. "I'm Zoe Keller. I'm 58 years old. I raised Justin alone after his father left when he was 4. I worked 2 jobs morning shift at the clinic evening shift doing medical billing from home so he could have piano lessons and summer camps and a college education without debt. I never asked for gratitude. I just wanted us to be each other's home. But sitting in that lawyer's office in White Elk County, Colorado, watching my son lean back in the chair like he was hosting the meeting instead of attending it, I realized something I'd been too tired to see for years. I had become invisible in my own life. The reading of my brother Daniel's will was supposed to be simple. Daniel had been sick for 3 years, heart problems that started with a scare and ended with silence. No wife, no children. Just me, his younger sister, and the mountain lodge he'd loved more than anything, except maybe old jazz records and black coffee at dawn. I thought I knew what was coming. A few personal items, maybe some photos. The lodge would probably go to the National Land Trust. Daniel always talked about protecting wild spaces. I didn't expect him to leave me everything. To my sister Zoe Keller, I leave the entirety of the lodge in White Elk County, including its land contents and associated deed. The lawyer's voice was steady, professional, but I caught something in his eyes when he looked at me. Something that felt like warning. Justin's hand shot out across the table before the words had fully settled. "That's wonderful news, Mom." His voice was too loud for the small room, too bright for a funeral week. "We'll finally get to build something together." I turned to look at him. Really look. When had the softness left his face? When had his eyes started calculating before they smiled? Lisa, his wife of 3 years, leaned forward in the chair beside him. She'd positioned herself at the head of the table somehow, even though it was round. Her tablet was already out, screen glowing. "A family retreat center," she said, finger swiping through images I couldn't quite see. "Wellness packages, maybe winter programming too." She turned the tablet toward me. Mock-ups, professional renderings, a modern building with floor-to-ceiling windows where Daniel's rustic lodge stood in my memory. Sleek furniture, a logo in the corner, a silver triangle that looked expensive and cold. "The Keller Legacy Resort," Justin said, reading my face like he was waiting for applause. "We've been working on this for a while, just in case." Just in case Daniel died, I thought. Just in case he left it to me. Just in case I could be convinced to hand it over. The lawyer cleared his throat. "There are additional stipulations in the will, Mr. Keller. If you'd allow me to finish—" Of course, of course." Justin waved his hand like he was granting permission. "Take your time." But his leg was bouncing under the table. I could feel it through the floor. Impatient. Eager. I looked down at my own hands folded in my lap. The left thumb pressed hard into the right palm, so deep it throbbed. That's how I knew I was still breathing. At the edge of my chair, my bag sat half-zipped. Old leather cracked near the flap worn from years of use. Inside was a folder, just the corner visible peeking through. Faded red like dried brick. Daniel had given it to me 6 months ago during his last good week. "Keep this safe," he'd said, "just in case." I hadn't opened it, hadn't wanted to think about the in case. Now I wondered what he'd seen that I'd missed. The lawyer continued reading something about property taxes, maintenance records, a list of Daniel's personal effects, but Justin was barely listening. He'd pulled out his own phone, was typing rapidly, grinning at Lisa. She smiled back. The kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes that says we already won. "That concludes the formal reading," the lawyer said. He looked at me again, held my gaze for 3 seconds too long. "Mrs. Keller, I'd like to schedule a private meeting with you. There are some documents your brother left that require your signature alone." "We can all meet," Justin said quickly. "I'm her power of attorney, actually. Health decisions, financial oversight. Mom needs the support." The lawyer's expression didn't change, but something flickered. "That's a healthcare directive, Mr. Keller. It doesn't apply to estate matters." Still, she'd want family there, right, Mom? All eyes turned to me. I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. "I'll call to schedule," I finally said. My voice sounded small, scraped thin. "Great." Justin stood, shook the lawyer's hand like they'd just closed a business deal. "We'll be in touch this week. Lots to discuss." We. That word again, swallowing me whole. I didn't remember agreeing to dinner at the lodge that night. But somehow there I was standing in Daniel's My Kitchen while Justin popped champagne before I'd even taken off my coat. "Tonight's for family," he announced to the room. Not to me, to the room. The great room of the lodge stretched before me exactly as Daniel had left it. Wood beams across the ceiling, worn leather furniture, the stone fireplace he'd built himself one summer when I was 19 and he was 25. The windows looked out over the ridge where pine trees stood black against the sunset. But it didn't feel like Daniel's place anymore. It felt like a stage set. There were 12 people there. I recognized maybe 4 a couple from town who'd worked with Justin on some development project, a man in an expensive suit who'd been introduced as an investor friend, a woman with architectural plans rolled under her arm. The others were strangers, talking loudly, drinking Daniel's good whiskey, examining his things like they were already at an estate sale. "Zoe, you'll be more comfortable here," Lisa said, guiding me, actually placing her hands on my shoulders and steering me toward the love seat by the fireplace, away from the dining table, away from the conversation. "These chairs are brutal on the back," she added, her voice sweet as poison. I sat where she told me. The dining table stretched long through the center of the room, 12 chairs all filling rapidly with people who weren't me. Lisa poured champagne for everyone. She skipped me. That was fine. I had coffee. It sat untouched on the side table, cooling forgotten. Dinner started. Spoons clinked. Voices layered over each other in a way that made the words impossible to separate. Platters of food passed by my corner, roast chicken, glazed vegetables, crusty bread, but the path never quite reached me. Someone offered seconds to the investor without asking if I'd had firsts. I cut my chicken carefully, one small piece at a time, and chewed slowly. Tasted nothing. Felt everything. Across the room, Justin stood. He tapped his glass with a knife, and the sound cut through the chatter like breaking ice. "I just want to thank everyone for coming tonight." His voice filled the space, confident and warm. The voice I used to hear reading bedtime stories, asking for help with math homework, calling me from college just to say he missed me. When had it turned into this performance? "This isn't just about a building," he continued. "It's about rebuilding a legacy. My mother gave me the gift of patience. My uncle gave her this lodge. Together, we'll make it something that lasts." Applause. Too long. Too enthusiastic. He didn't look at me. Not once. Lisa rose next, smoothing her dress, commanding the room with the ease of someone used to being heard. "Tomorrow we meet with the architect. We've already got contacts lined up with the zoning board. Health permits shouldn't be an issue. Whiteout County loves progress." More nodding, more smiling. "Progress," someone echoed, raising a glass. I sat in my corner by the fireplace and watched my son turn my brother's home into a showroom. Watched my name disappear between printed blueprints and investment forecasts. They passed around a leather portfolio thick with glossy pages. When it came near me, no one handed it directly. They just set it on the side table, leaned past me, kept moving. Later, when plates were cleared and coffee was served to everyone but me, I slipped into the kitchen carrying my untouched dinner plate. The portfolio sat on the counter, half open. I glanced back toward the great room. Laughter. Justin's voice rising above the rest. "We'll take out that old clawfoot tub, swap it for something cleaner, more modern. Maybe the master bedroom becomes our VIP investor suite." My breath caught. Daniel had restored that tub himself. Spent 3 weekends on his hands and knees refinishing the enamel because he couldn't afford to pay someone. He used to soak in it after long hikes reading paperback westerns until the water went cold. I looked down at the portfolio. Pulled my phone from my pocket. Angled it low. Clicked. One photo. Just enough. Lisa's voice drifted from the great room. "My mom said the fireplace can go. That smell, it's so rustic. Guests want clean air and modern heating." The fireplace Daniel built. The one we sat beside every Christmas. The one where he taught me to play poker when I was 7, letting me win just enough to feel clever. Laughter again. Warm. Casual. United against the past. I wiped my hands on a towel, folded it neatly, and walked back toward the edge of the room. No one noticed. I sat again, folded one ankle over the other, straightened my spine. Justin was pointing at a sketch now. "Imagine this whole east wing with glass walls. Sunrise over the ridge. Clients will pay premium just for that view." Clients, not family, not memories, not the people Daniel loved. Clients. Later that night, after the investors left and Lisa went upstairs to make calls, I tried the door to Daniel's office. Locked. I tried again, slower this time, twisting both ways. The old brass knob didn't budge. "Oh, that key's probably with the old caretaker," Justin said from the living room couch. He didn't even lift his head from his laptop. "Or in one of the moving boxes. Don't stress about it, Mom." I kept my hand on the knob, feeling the cold metal against my palm. "I'd like to see Daniel's things. We're using it for temporary storage. No need to get into logistics right now." He glanced up, smiled that practiced smile. "Focus on relaxing while you're here. You deserve rest." You deserve rest. Translation: you deserve to sit quietly while we decide everything. I nodded, walked away without another word. My fingers curled into fists once I turned the corner nails, pressing half moons into my palms. I didn't even feel the wood grain on the stair railing until I reached the second floor. In my room, the guest room, not Daniel's master bedroom, which Lisa had claimed for herself and Justin, I sat on the edge of the bed and opened my bag. The zipper caught. I forced it. Inside, under a scarf that smelled faintly of the lavender sachets I kept in my closet at home, lay something I'd almost forgotten, a small black flash drive. Daniel had given it to me 2 years ago, right after his first heart attack. I'd been helping him sort through papers in case something happened. He'd pressed it into my hand, folded my fingers around it. "Just in case of misuse," he'd said. "Misuse of what?" "You'll know when you see it." I'd tucked it away, hoping I'd never need to understand what he meant. Now, holding it in my palm, I knew. The flash drive was warm from sitting in my bag all day. I turned it over. A label in Daniel's handwriting, small and precise, "In case of misuse." I wanted to plug it into my laptop right then, find out what he'd seen, what he'd feared. But something stopped me. Maybe the weight of the day, maybe the sound of Justin's voice still echoing in my head. Together, we'll make it something that lasts. Or maybe I just wasn't ready to know how long this betrayal had been planned. I slipped the flash drive back into my bag under the scarf, under the red folder I hadn't opened yet either. Tomorrow. I'd look tomorrow. Tonight I just needed to breathe. Cold wind bit across the porch when I stepped outside, wrapping my sweater tighter around my shoulders. The night sky was clear, stars scattered like broken glass across black velvet, the kind of sky Daniel loved. "He would have hated this," I whispered to the dark. The door opened behind me. I didn't turn around. "Mom," Justin's voice, softer now without an audience. "I'm fine," I said. "Just needed air." He came and stood beside me, hands in his pockets. For a moment, just a flicker, I saw the boy he used to be. 7 years old, holding my hand during a thunderstorm. 14, crying on my shoulder when his first girlfriend broke his heart. 21, drunk and philosophical at his college graduation, telling me I was his hero. "I know this is a lot," he said. "All the people, all the plans. We probably should have eased into it." I looked at him. "How long have you been planning this?" "Planning what?" "The resort, the renovations, the investors." He laughed, that practiced dismissive sound I was learning to hate. "Mom, we've just been brainstorming, nothing set in stone." "You have architectural renderings." "Concepts, just concepts." "You have investors, in Daniel's house, drinking his whiskey." "Friends exploring possibilities." He turned to face me fully. "Look, I know you're grieving. I am too. But Uncle Daniel left you this property because he trusted you to make smart decisions. And the smart decision is to let the people who understand these things handle it for me. Help you," he corrected. His hand reached out, squeezed my shoulder. "You raised me to be practical, Mom. This lodge is worth over $1 million, but it costs $8,000 a month just to maintain. Property taxes, utilities, upkeep. How are you going to manage that on your retirement income?" $8,000 a month. I hadn't known, hadn't thought to ask. "Lisa and I," Justin continued, "we've built a network. People who can turn this into something sustainable, something profitable. You'd have steady income security, and you'd have what?" The question hung between us like smoke. "A future," he said finally. "I'd have a future. We'd have a future, as a family." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe the boy I raised was still in there somewhere, that this was just ambition, just enthusiasm, just youth. But then I remembered how he'd looked at me in the lawyer's office, how he'd said we like I was included, but really meant not you. "I'm tired," I said. "I should sleep." "Good idea. Big day tomorrow, the contractor's coming." I hadn't agreed to a contractor, but I just nodded and went inside, leaving him on the porch with his plans and his future and his practiced concern. Instead, I lay in the dark and listened to the house. Footsteps above me, Lisa pacing while on the phone, her voice muffled but intense. Once I heard my name. No, not Zoe. She won't be involved. More footsteps. Justin joining her. Their voices together now too low to make out words, but clear in tone. Plotting, planning, deciding. Around 2 a.m. I got up, filled the kettle, made coffee because my body didn't know how to be still anymore. I stood at the kitchen window and looked out at the dark shape of the mountains. Daniel used to say the lodge sat in the palm of the earth's hand, protected, held. I wondered if he'd known when he wrote that will that his protection would need to extend beyond the grave. The flash drive sat on the counter where I'd placed it. Small, innocent looking. I picked it up, turned it over, in case of misuse. My laptop was upstairs. I could go look, could plug it in and see what Daniel had tried to tell me. But something stopped me again. Not fear exactly. More like the knowledge that once I looked, once I knew I couldn't unknow. Couldn't pretend this was all a misunderstanding, a communication problem, an overreaction from a grieving old woman. I put the flash drive back down. Not tonight. Tonight I just wanted to sit with my coffee in my brother's kitchen and remember when the people I loved me back. Morning came too fast and too bright. Lisa was already at the dining table with her tablet and 3 different notebooks when I came downstairs. She looked up, smiled that careful smile. "Coffee's fresh," she said. "I made extra." "Thank you." I poured a cup, noting that the pot was nearly empty despite her claim of extra. Justin bounded down the stairs, phone already to his ear. "Yes, 10 a.m. works perfectly. See you then?" He hung up, kissed Lisa on the cheek, then turned to me. "Contractors confirmed. This is exciting, Mom. Real progress." "Justin, I need to talk to you about—" "Hold that thought." He grabbed a travel mug, filled it from the pot, finishing the coffee, and headed for the door. "Running to pick up permits from the county office. Be back in an hour. Love you." And he was gone. Lisa looked up from her tablet. "You wanted to talk to him?" "Yes." "About the plans. About everything." She nodded slowly, set down her stylus. "Zoe, can I be honest with you?" I waited. "I know this feels sudden. I know it probably feels like we're taking over. But Justin, he's been thinking about this for years. Ever since the first time Daniel got sick. He loves you. He does. But he also sees an opportunity to build something meaningful, something that honors Daniel's memory while also creating security for all of us. By erasing everything Daniel built, by evolving it." She leaned forward earnest. Or performing earnest, I couldn't tell anymore. "That clawfoot tub, it's got rust issues. The fireplace, it's not up to code for commercial use. The east wing structural concerns that would cost a fortune to fix the old way." She pulled up something on her tablet, turned it toward me. "But if we approach it differently, modernize, optimize, we create something sustainable. Something that doesn't drain resources but generates them." The screen showed financial projections, revenue streams, profit margins, everything color-coded and official-looking. "Justin thinks I don't know," she said quietly, "but I've seen how you worry about money, the cost of living retirement health care. This could solve that. For you, for all of us. For all of us. Another we that somehow meant not you." "I'll think about it," I said. "Of course." Lisa smiled, went back to her tablet. "Take your time." But I could see her fingers moving, typing rapidly to someone. Probably Justin. Probably saying she's hesitant. "We need to move faster." The contractor arrived at 10:03. Young, eager, wearing a gray jacket with a company logo I didn't recognize. Justin pulled up right behind him, hopping out of his truck with the energy of someone who'd slept well and woke up certain of his purpose. "Jake, good to see you, man." They shook hands like old friends. "Ready to see what we're working with?" "Absolutely. Come on in." They walked the perimeter of the lodge outside, first pointing at roof lines and foundation, then inside measuring doorways and windows. Lisa followed behind with her notebook, explaining which walls could go, which spaces felt underused. I stood in the great room and watched them move through Daniel's life like archaeologists at a dig site. Clinical, detached, efficient. "Knock out this wall here," Justin was saying, gesturing wide. "Open it up. Lisa wants space for an indoor herb garden. Guests love that." "Makes sense," Jake agreed, making notes. "You're looking at load-bearing concerns here, but nothing we can't work around." "Great. And upstairs, we'll convert the master into a VIP suite." Maybe add a second bathroom, really luxury it up. Daniel's room, where he'd slept for 25 years, where he'd died actually peaceful in his sleep exactly like he'd wanted. Now it would become a VIP suite for strangers with money. I must have made a sound small choked because Justin turned. Mom, hey, come meet Jake. I walked over each step feeling like wading through water. Jake, this is my mother Zoe. She's the owner. Pleasure to meet you, ma'am. Jake extended his hand. I shook it. His grip was firm, professional. Your son's got great vision for this place. Thank you, I said automatically. Jake's going to be our main contractor, Justin continued. Point of contact for everything. I'll be operations manager handling day-to-day decisions. Mom's just here enjoying her time. Just here enjoying. The words landed like stones in my chest. Jake nodded politely, already dismissing me, turning back to Justin. So timeline. You're thinking phase 1 by spring. Ideally, want to catch the start of hiking season. They moved toward the kitchen, still talking, Lisa trailing behind. I stood in the great room alone. On the coffee table, I noticed a brochure someone had left. Thick paper, glossy finish. I picked it up. Big letters across the top. Photos of the lodge taken from drone angles, stock images of smiling couples in white bathrobes. A wellness slogan. A price chart. A mission statement about honoring mountain heritage while embracing modern luxury. No mention of Daniel. No mention of me. Not a single word. I flipped through the pages. 7 of them full-color, professionally designed. Room packages starting at $3,600 for a weekend. VIP add-ons with chef experiences, wine pairings, snowmobile access. At the bottom of the last page, small in the corner, that silver triangle logo. The same one from Lisa's tablet. I took out my phone and searched it. The website was sleek corporate. A portfolio of properties they'd partnered with. Boutique hotels, converted estates, family businesses transformed into investment opportunities. I clicked on a case study. Read about a family restaurant in Vermont that partnered with Silver Peak. 2 years later, the family was bought out. The recipes changed, the name remained, but meant nothing. My hands started to shake. I heard footsteps behind me, slipped the phone back into my pocket, set down the brochure. There you are, Lisa's voice bright and false. We were looking for you. Do you want to join us for the walkthrough? No, I said. I think I'll rest. Of course, you must be exhausted. She touched my arm briefly, efficiently, then left. I stood there alone in the great room holding a brochure for a business that didn't exist yet, but somehow already had investors' architectural plans and glossy marketing materials. They hadn't asked if I wanted this. They'd assumed. Or worse, they'd never planned to ask at all. That evening after Jake left and Justin went into town for a quick meeting, I finally opened my laptop, sat in my room with the door locked and the flash drive in my hand. In case of misuse. My cursor hovered over the drive icon. 1 click. That's all it would take to see what Daniel had tried to warn me about. But once I saw it, I'd have to do something. Have to act. Have to choose. And I wasn't sure I was ready to lose my son, even if he'd already decided to lose me. I closed the laptop without opening the drive. Tomorrow. I'd look tomorrow. Tonight I just needed to pretend a little longer that this was all salvageable, that the boy I raised with love and sacrifice and hope still existed somewhere beneath the practiced smiles and investor meetings. Outside my window, the sky had gone dark again. Stars emerging one by one. Daniel used to say stars were just ancient light finally reaching us after traveling for years. Maybe truth was like that too, already on its way, just taking time to arrive. I called Mr. Patterson's office at 8:47 the next morning. My hands were steadier than I expected. The receptionist's voice was warm, professional, unsurprised. Mrs. Keller, we've been expecting your call. Mr. Patterson has a slot at 9 a.m. today if you're available. Today, in 13 minutes. Yes, I said. I'll be there. I hung up before I could change my mind. Justin was still asleep. Lisa had left early for a breakfast meeting in town, probably with more investors, more people making decisions about my life without me in the room. I got dressed quickly. Gray slacks, a navy sweater Daniel had given me 3 Christmases ago. Sensible shoes. I looked in the mirror and saw an old woman. Not elderly, just erased. The kind of woman people look through instead of at. I grabbed my purse, the red folder inside the flash drive tucked in the side pocket, and walked out before anyone could ask where I was going. The drive into town took 12 minutes. White Elk County in October was all gold aspen leaves and clean mountain air. The kind of morning Daniel loved, the kind that made you believe the world was bigger than your problems. But my problems were waiting in a law office on Main Street in an envelope my brother had sealed before he died. Mr. Patterson's office smelled like old books and lemon polish, dark wood Evie-ware, certificates on the walls, a photo on his desk of a woman and 2 grown children, everyone smiling at some outdoor gathering. He stood when I entered. 60s, I guessed. Silver hair, kind eyes, the look of someone who'd spent a career listening to people's worst moments and trying to help. "Mrs. Keller, thank you for coming." He gestured to a chair across from his desk. "I'm sorry for your loss. Daniel was a good man." "Thank you." I sat. He sat. The chair creaked under his weight. "Your brother was very specific in his instructions." He began pulling out a file. He updated his will 3 years ago, shortly after his first heart attack. He added provisions he wanted to discuss with you privately. "Justin said he was my power of attorney. For healthcare decisions, yes. In case you became incapacitated. That's different from estate management." He opened the file, pulled out a thick cream envelope. My name in Daniel's handwriting steady even near the end. "This is for you. Only you. He asked me to give it to you after the formal reading in private when you were ready." I took the envelope. Heavy. Important. Final. "Should I open it now?" "That's your choice. But if you'd like privacy, I can step out for a few minutes." "No, please stay." I needed a witness. Needed someone to see whatever this was to confirm I wasn't imagining, it wasn't overreacting, wasn't just a paranoid old woman who couldn't trust her own son. I opened the envelope. Inside a notarized document, multiple pages, official seals and signatures. The heading made my breath catch. I read the first paragraph. Then again. Then a third time, because my brain couldn't process what my eyes were seeing. If the property known as White Elk Lodge is used for commercial activity, subdivided or altered for private profit by any party, including my sister's descendants or their spouses, full deed and control shall revert to the designated National Land Trust effective immediately upon trigger verification. I looked up at Mr. Patterson. It means, he said gently, that the lodge can't be developed commercially, can't be sold for profit, can't be converted into a business venture. If anyone tries ownership, automatically transfers to the trust. The property becomes protected parkland. But it's mine. The will said, yes, it's yours, to live in, to maintain, to enjoy, but not to monetize. He leaned forward. Your brother knew someone would try Mrs. Keller. He built in this protection. My hands were shaking. I set the papers down before I dropped them. Did he know it would be Justin? Mr. Patterson's silence was answer enough. I flipped to the next page. A letter typed this time dated 3 years ago. Dear Zoe, if you're reading this, I'm gone and something's wrong. I hope I'm wrong about this. God, I hope I'm wrong. But I saw the way Justin looked at the lodge last Christmas. Not with love, with calculation. He asked me how much it was worth. 3rd time he'd asked in 5 years. Then he brought that friend who turned out to be a property appraiser. I love that boy like my own son. You raised him with everything you had. But love doesn't make you blind. It makes you prepare. The reversion clause is your protection. If he tries to take this place from you, if he tries to turn it into something it was never meant to be, the clause triggers. The trust takes over. Nobody gets it. I know that sounds harsh. But Zoe, this place isn't about money. It's about peace. About having one corner of the world that's just still, where you can breathe, where you can remember who you were before the world taught you to be smaller. You deserve that. You've spent your whole life making yourself smaller so other people could grow. This is me from beyond wherever I am telling you, take up space. Be big. Be loud if you need to. The reversion clause only triggers if there's commercial use or attempted transfer for profit. I've included the specific trigger conditions on page 3. You'll know when you see them. I'm sorry you have to do this alone. I should be there. Love always, Danny. He hadn't signed anything Danny since we were kids. I pressed my palm flat against the paper like I could somehow reach through time and hold my brother's hand one more time. Mrs. Keller. Mr. Patterson's voice was quiet. There's more. I turned to page 3. Trigger conditions. The reversion clause activates if any of the following occur: formal architectural plans filed for commercial renovation, business licenses or permits applied for in relation to the property, marketing materials created promoting commercial use, contracts or agreements signed with investors or development firms, attempted transfer or sale of deed without full owner consent. I looked up at Mr. Patterson, my throat tight. Justin's filed for permits. He has architectural plans. There's a brochure. I know. You know, your brother asked me to monitor county records. Any permit applications, any business filings related to the lodge. I've been watching. He pulled out another folder, this one newer. These were filed 4 days ago, before Daniel's will was even read. He slid papers across the desk. Permit applications. Business license for Keller Experience LLC. Zoning variance requests. All in Justin's name, with my signature on the authorization forms. A signature I'd never written. That's not my signature, I whispered. I know. That's fraud. Yes. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the desk. Mrs. Keller, I need to ask, do you want to trigger the reversion clause? Did I triggering it meant Justin got nothing? Meant admitting my son had tried to steal from me? Meant choosing the truth over the fantasy that we could still be a family? What happens if I don't? If you don't and these permits get approved, the commercial use begins, the clause triggers automatically anyway. But by then, Justin will have committed fraud. The county will press charges. It becomes criminal, not civil. And if I trigger it now, the property transfers to the trust. Justin faces no charges, just loss of the property. You'd be protected from any liability. But I'd lose it too. Yes. His voice was impossibly gentle. But you'd keep your integrity. And sometimes that's all we get to keep. I sat in my car outside the law office for 20 minutes staring at nothing. The street was quiet. A few tourists walking with coffee cups. A dog tied up outside the hardware store, tail wagging hopefully at passers-by. Normal life. Simple life. The kind that didn't include sons who forged your signature, and lawyers who kept secrets, and reversion clauses that meant choose between your child and your truth. When had it become this complicated? My phone buzzed. Text from Lisa. Where are you? Justin's worried. I didn't answer. Instead, I pulled the flash drive from my purse. Looked at it sitting in my palm, small and black, and full of whatever Daniel had tried to tell me. I couldn't avoid it anymore. I started the car, drove not back to the lodge, but to the public library. Quiet, anonymous. Somewhere Justin wouldn't look for me. The librarian barely glanced up when I asked to use a computer. 30-minute sessions, she said. Let me know if you need more time. I sat in the back corner screen angled away from foot traffic. Plugged in the drive. 3 files appeared. 1 letter to Zoe.mp4. 2 documentation.pdf. 3 instructions. I clicked the video first. Daniel appeared on screen. Not the Daniel from his last month's thin gray tired. This was Daniel from 3 years ago. Still sick but fighting. Sitting in his office, the one Justin had locked with the window behind him, showing summer pine trees. Zoe, his voice cracked. If you're watching this, I'm gone and something's wrong. I pressed my hand over my mouth. I hope I'm wrong about Justin. I really do. But I need you to see something. He held up papers. These are emails between Justin and a company called Silver Peak Ventures. I found them when he left his laptop here during Christmas. He was in the bathroom. It was open and I saw my name. He spread the papers on the desk. They've been talking for 8 months, Zoe. 8 months. Before I was even that sick. He sent them a pitch deck called Family Property Conversion Opportunity. They're planning to take 60% equity once the deed clears. You'd be listed as advisory role, which means no real power. Daniel's face filled the screen, eyes wet. I love him, Zoe, but he's not thinking about you. He's thinking about himself. And I can't let that happen. He looked down, collected himself. There's more in the documentation file. Emails, financial projections, contracts. All dated before my will was even updated. He was planning this before he knew you'd inherit. A long pause. When he looked up again, his expression had changed. Harder. Decided. The reversion clause is your nuclear option. It protects you and it protects this place. But it costs you both. Use it only when you're certain there's no other way. He leaned closer to the camera. I'm sorry you have to do this alone, baby sister. I'm sorry I won't be there to help you stand up, but you've been standing alone your whole life and you're stronger than you think. The video ended. I sat in the library computer corner and cried for the first time since Daniel's funeral. Not quiet tears, big, shaking sobs that made the librarian glance over with concern. But I didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Because Daniel had known. He'd known my son would do this, and he'd tried to protect me from beyond the grave, and I'd spent the last week doubting myself. Wondering if I was being unfair, if I was misunderstanding, if I was just getting old and paranoid. But I wasn't. Justin had planned this for almost a year, before Daniel died, before I inherited, before he even knew if I'd be the one to get the lodge. He'd planned to take it from whoever got it, and that whoever happened to be me. 45 pages, emails, financial spreadsheets, contracts in draft form. The emails started 8 months ago. Justin to a man named Richard Chen at Silver Peak Ventures, interested in discussing family property opportunity. Mountain Lodge 1.38M, valuation potential for high-end wellness retreat. Owner elderly declining health will likely transfer to immediate family soon. Elderly. Declining health. Daniel had been sick, but I wasn't even 60. I ran 3 miles every morning. Took yoga twice a week. Volunteered at the clinic where I used to work. But to Justin I was already obsolete. Already too old to matter. I kept reading. More emails. Richard Chen responding with interest. Justin sending photos of the lodge photos he'd taken last Christmas when Daniel was in the hospital for tests. Photos from inside showing the layout, the potential. A meeting scheduled. A pitch deck attached. Keller Lodge conversion. Premium wellness destination. The pitch deck was professional. Slick. Full of market research and competitor analysis and revenue projections. $4. $2 million profit over 3 years. Justin's proposed role, Operations Director, 30% equity stake. Lisa's role, Marketing Director, 10% equity stake. Silver Peak's role, Primary Investor, 60% equity stake. My role listed at the bottom. Zoe Keller, Advisory Position, Symbolic Presence for Family Branding. Symbolic, like a photograph on the wall, like decoration. I scrolled to the financial section, found a line item that made my stomach drop. Owner buyout year 2, $250,000. They were going to buy me out. Give me $250,000 to disappear from the property my brother left me. And Justin had negotiated my buyout price. My phone rang. Justin. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. Lisa. Voicemail. A text, Mom, please call. We're worried about you. Another, where did you go? Just tell us you're okay. I turned off my phone. Open the instructions .txt file. Zoe document everything. Take photos of their plans, their emails, their conversations. Trust Patterson, he knows what's happening. Keep this drive safe. The trigger clause is your nuclear option. Use it only when you're certain there's no other way. But when you're certain, don't hesitate. I love you. I'm sorry. I sat there for a long time staring at the screen until the 30-minute session warning popped up. The librarian appeared. Do you need more time? Yes, I said. Please. I drove back to the lodge at 2 p.m. The house was quiet. Justin's truck was gone. Lisa's car sat in the driveway. I walked in through the kitchen door. Found Lisa at the dining table with her phone and laptop clearly in the middle of something important. She looked up, relief flooding her face. Zoe, thank God. We were so worried. Where were you? Out. We called. I know. She stood, came closer. Are you all right? You seem upset. I looked at her. Really looked. The designer clothes. The expensive watch. The confidence of someone who'd never had to choose between paying rent and buying groceries. How long have you known? I asked. Known what? About Silver Peak. About the buyout. About the plan to make me advisory. Her face went very still. Zoe, I don't know what you think you found. 8 months. You've been planning this for 8 months. That's not we were exploring options. You forged my signature on permit applications. Silence. I could have shown you the permits, she finally said. You would have signed them if you'd understood the financial benefits. So you forged them anyway. We were going to tell you, after everything was in place, after you could see how amazing this could be. She reached for my hand. I pulled away. Justin loves you. Lisa continued, voice cracking. This whole thing, it's for you. The property taxes are $8,000 a month, Zoe. How are you going to afford that? This resort would generate enough income to cover everything and give you a comfortable life, while you and Justin and Silver Peak take 60%. That's how investment works. I can expect my son not to lie to me. I can expect my family not to forge my signature. I can expect to be asked instead of erased. Lisa's face hardened. You're being dramatic. This is a business opportunity. This is my home. It's a property, a valuable property. And if you're too sentimental to see that, then maybe it's good we're handling things. There it was, the truth beneath the practiced concern. I wasn't a person to her. I was an obstacle. Get out, I said quietly. What? Pack your things. Get out of my house. Zoe, you can't just— Yes, I said. I can. It's my house. The will says so. The deed says so. And I'm saying so. Get out. She stared at me, disbelief sliding into anger. Justin won't allow this. Justin doesn't live here. We're trying to help you. No, I said. You're trying to help yourselves. And I'm done pretending not to notice. She grabbed her laptop, her phone, her designer bag, stopped at the door. You're making a huge mistake. You'll regret this. Maybe, but it'll be my mistake to make. She left. The door slammed so hard a picture frame rattled on the wall. I stood in the great room alone again and waited for my hands to stop shaking. Justin called 32 times that afternoon. I didn't answer. He showed up at 5 p.m., let himself in with his key, found me in the kitchen making tea. Mom, what the hell? Don't use that tone with me. Lisa just called me crying, said you kicked her out, said you're accusing us of what trying to steal from you. I found the emails, Justin. I found the pitch deck. I found your agreement with Silver Peak. His face went white. You went through my private— Daniel left me a flash drive with copies of everything you sent from his laptop last Christmas. Silence, long and terrible. Mom, those were preliminary. You planned this 8 months ago, before Daniel died. You photographed this house while he was in the hospital. I was exploring options. You forged my signature. That was a misunderstanding. You forged my signature, Justin. My voice cracked. You planned to buy me out for $250,000 from the property my brother left me, the property worth over $1 million. He ran his hands through his hair. Paced. Okay. Yes. I looked into development possibilities. Yes, I talked to investors. But that was before I didn't know Uncle Daniel would leave it to you. So if he'd left it to someone else, you'd steal from them instead. It's not stealing, it's business. It's my house. We stared at each other, my son, the boy I'd raised, the man I no longer recognized. Why? I asked. Just tell me why. I gave you everything I had. Why wasn't it enough? His face crumpled. For a second, just a flicker, I saw something real, something hurt. Because it was never enough, Mom. We were never enough. We lived in that tiny apartment while Uncle Daniel had this. We scraped by while he had space and peace and everything. And you just smiled and said we were fine. We were grateful. But I wasn't fine. I was angry. So you decided to take it. I decided to make it worth something, to turn it into something that could actually support us instead of just sitting here being nostalgic. It's not nostalgia, Justin. It's memory. It's history. It's the last piece of my brother I have left. It's property, Mom. That's all it is. And property has value. And I'm trying to help you see that before you're stuck here alone with $8,000 monthly bills and no way to pay them. He was pleading now, desperate. But I heard the calculation underneath, heard the practiced concern. Get out, I said, Mom. Take your key, take your plans, take your investors, and get out of my house. If you do this, he said slowly, if you cut us out, you'll lose everything. You can't maintain this place alone. You'll have to sell it anyway, and we won't be here to help. Then I'll lose it on my terms, not yours. He stood there, jaw-working, hands clenched. Then he yanked his key off his key ring, slammed it on the counter, and walked out. The door didn't slam this time. It closed quietly, definitively, like a period at the end of a sentence I'd been writing my whole life. That night I sat in Daniel's office. The door unlocked, now I'd found the key in his desk drawer, exactly where it had always been. His space was untouched. Books on the shelves, photos on the walls, his reading glasses on the desk folded neatly beside a mug that still had dried coffee at the bottom. I picked up the mug, held it, cried into it. "I don't know what to do, Danny," I whispered to the empty room. "I don't know how to be the person you thought I was." But he'd given me the answer, hadn't he? The reversion clause, the documentation, the choice. I opened my laptop, composed an email to Mr. Patterson. "I'm ready to trigger the clause. Tomorrow morning. Please prepare the paperwork." My finger hovered over send. One click, that's all it would take. But I didn't send it. Not yet, because part of me, small, desperate, motherly, still hoped Justin would come back, would apologize, would prove that the boy I'd raised was still in there somewhere. I left the email in drafts, closed the laptop, and sat in my brother's chair watching the moon rise over the mountains, waiting for courage to feel less like grief. The same one from before, the Keller experience. But with a note on top in Justin's handwriting, "Mom, I'm sorry we didn't communicate better. This is what we've been working toward. Grand opening event is this Saturday. We'd love for you to be there, to be part of this. Please don't throw this away." Saturday, 3 days from now. I flipped through the brochure again, saw my name nowhere, saw Daniel's Lodge transformed into something sleek and commercial and empty, saw the silver triangle logo in the corner. I took out my phone, opened the email to Mr. Patterson, pressed send. "I'm ready. Tomorrow morning. Please prepare the paperwork." This time my hand didn't shake. Mr. Patterson called me at 7 a.m. Friday morning. I'd been awake for hours, watching the sky turn from black to gray to pale gold over the ridgeline. "Mrs. Keller, the paperwork is ready, but before we proceed, I need to tell you something." My stomach dropped. "What a—" "Your son filed a formal deed transfer request yesterday afternoon. Emergency petition claiming you're experiencing cognitive decline and he needs to protect the asset." The room tilted. Cognitive decline. It's a legal maneuver. Happens more often than you'd think with inheritance disputes. He'll need a medical evaluation to support it, which he doesn't have, but it buys him time. The county has to investigate the claim before any reversion clause can be triggered. How much time? Could be weeks, could be months. He paused. There's another option. What? Let the launch event happen tomorrow. Document everything: investors, contracts, marketing materials, commercial activity. Then we trigger the clause with overwhelming evidence. No room for legal challenges. Clean, fast, undeniable. You want me to watch him celebrate stealing from me. I want you to win Mrs. Keller. And sometimes winning means waiting for your opponent to finish digging their own grave. I closed my eyes. Breathed. Okay, tomorrow. I'll be there. Not officially, just as a concerned family friend. And Mrs. Keller, bring a recorder. Document every word. I didn't leave my room that day. Couldn't face going downstairs seeing Justin moving through Daniel's space like he owned it, which apparently he thought he did. Around noon, I heard vehicles arriving, delivery trucks, voices, furniture being moved. I cracked my door open, peered down the hallway. The great room was being transformed. White tablecloths, floral arrangements, a banner being hung across the fireplace. The Keller experience, launch celebration. Lisa directed workers with the efficiency of a general commanding troops. "No, the bar goes there. The presentation screen here. Make sure the lighting is perfect for photos." Justin stood in the center of it all, phone to his ear, gesturing with his free hand. "Yes, the press release goes out at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Local news confirmed they're sending a crew. This is happening." I closed my door, sat on the edge of the bed. My phone buzzed. Text from a number I didn't recognize. "This is Mr. Patterson. Save this number. Text me if you need anything. You're not alone." I saved it. Stared at it. You're not alone. Such a simple sentence. Such a profound lie. Because I was alone. Had been alone since my husband left when Justin was 4. Had been alone through double shifts and single parenthood and every birthday party I attended where all the other kids had 2 parents and I was the odd one out. But I'd had Daniel. And I'd had the version of Justin who hugged me goodnight and told me I was his hero and meant it. Now Daniel was gone, and Justin was this. So yes, I was alone. But maybe that was okay. Maybe alone was better than this. Saturday morning arrived with cruel perfection. Cloudless sky, temperature in the mid-50s. The aspens had turned full gold, the kind of view that belonged on postcards. Perfect weather for destroying everything. I got dressed carefully. Navy dress, simple and elegant. Pearl earrings Daniel had given me for my 50th birthday. Low heels I could stand in for hours. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized myself. When had I become so faded, like a photograph left in sunlight too long? I picked up my phone. The recording app Mr. Patterson had told me to download was ready. I pressed record, slipped the phone into my dress pocket. Deep breath. Showtime. The great room was packed by 11 a.m. Easily 40 people. I recognized some faces, county officials, local business owners, a few of Daniel's old friends who looked deeply uncomfortable. The rest were strangers. Investors, probably. Press. Influencers with cameras. Wait staff circulated with champagne and canapes. A photographer moved through the crowd. Someone had set up a professional video camera on a tripod. The banner behind the makeshift stage read, "The Keller Experience," in letters 2 feet tall. No one noticed me slip in. I took a position near the back wall behind a cluster of people and watched. Justin stood at the center of everything, jacket-off sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked confident, happy, like a man who'd finally gotten what he deserved. Lisa hovered beside him in a cream dress, tablet in hand, checking details with the precision of someone who'd planned this down to the minute. "Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention," Justin's voice carried across the room. The crowd settled. "Thank you all for being here today. This is special. This is family. This is legacy." He gestured broadly at the lodge. "This building has been in my family for over 25 years. My Uncle Daniel built something beautiful here, and today we honor his memory by taking it into the future." Applause. Warm, enthusiastic. My nails dug into my palms. The Keller Experience isn't just a wellness retreat. It's a destination for transformation, where mountain heritage meets modern luxury, where families can reconnect, individuals can reset, and everyone can breathe. More applause. Lisa stepped forward with a presentation remote. The screen lit up with renderings the lodge transformed. Glass walls, infinity pool, spa facilities, guest suites that looked nothing like Daniel's simple, honest rooms. "We're projecting capacity for 40 guests at full booking," Lisa said. "Packages starting at $3,600 for a weekend VIP, experiences up to $8,000. We've partnered with local artisans, organic farms, and wellness practitioners to create an authentic Colorado experience." A woman in the front row raised her hand. "Will this affect local employment? How many jobs are you creating?" "Great question," Justin jumped in. "We're projecting 15 full-time positions, another 10 seasonal. All local hires. We want to lift up this community." Nods of approval. I noticed Mr. Patterson then standing near the kitchen entrance in casual clothes, coffee cup in hand. He caught my eye, nodded slightly. Lisa continued clicking through slides. Financial projections, marketing strategies, partnership opportunities. Everything polished, professional, convincing. Then she got to a slide that made my breath stop. A photo of me. Old photo, maybe 15 years ago. Me standing in front of the lodge with Daniel, both of us smiling. The caption underneath read, "Built on family, designed for legacy." "This is Zoe Keller," Lisa said warmly. "Justin's mother, the current owner and the heart of this family. While she's chosen to take a step back from day-to-day operations, she's earned her rest after years of hard work. Her spirit and values guide everything we do here." The camera operator turned toward me, found me in the crowd. Everyone looked. Justin's eyes met mine across the room. Something flickered, surprise, fear, but then he smiled. That practiced, charming smile. "Mom, come up here, please. You should be part of this." The crowd parted. I had no choice but to move forward. My legs felt like wood. My face felt frozen. But I walked. One step, then another. I reached the front. Justin put his arm around my shoulders, pulled me close. "Everyone, this is my mother. She's the reason any of this is possible." Flash of camera. Applause. His arm was tight around me. Not affectionate, controlling. "Mom, do you want to say anything about Uncle Daniel, about your vision for this place?" He handed me the microphone. I looked out at the crowd, all those expectant faces. Then at the screen behind me, Daniel's lodge turned into someone else's dream. I could end this right now, could tell them all the truth. But Mr. Patterson's words echoed, "Wait for them to finish digging their own grave." so I smiled. "I'm grateful to be here," I said carefully. "Grateful to see what Justin and Lisa have created. This is certainly different than anything Daniel or I imagined." Justin laughed nervously. "Mom's being diplomatic. She was hesitant about change at first, natural at her age, but she's come around. Haven't you, Mom? At her age." I handed back the microphone without answering. Justin kept going smooth as ever. "Now I want to introduce some very special partners who've made this possible." A man in an expensive suit stood. 50s silver hair, shark smile. "Richard Chen, Silver Peak Ventures. We're thrilled to be part of the Keller legacy." There it was. Official. Public. Documented. I felt Mr. Patterson's eyes on me. Saw him subtly tap his pocket. Recording. Justin and Richard shook hands for the cameras. Lisa distributed packets, investment prospectuses, partnership agreements, promotional materials. "We're offering a limited number of founding investor opportunities," Lisa announced. "Get in on the ground floor of something truly special." People crowded forward. Phones out. Checkbooks emerging. This wasn't just a launch party. It was a sales event. I slipped toward the kitchen as the crowd pressed forward. Found myself in the hallway by Daniel's office, my office now, I supposed. The door was open. Inside I could see boxes stacked. Daniel's books being packed away. His desk cleared. "Excuse me, are you Mrs. Keller?" I turned. A young woman, maybe 30, notebook in hand. Press badge, White Elk County reporter. "Yes. I'm Sarah Michaels. I was hoping to ask you a few questions about your uncle's legacy in this new venture." "I don't think... It'll only take a minute. This is such an inspiring story. Multi-generational family business passing the torch, honoring tradition while embracing change." She smiled brightly. "How does it feel to see your son take your brother's vision to the next level?" "My brother's vision," I said slowly, "was for this place to remain quiet. Simple. A refuge from exactly this kind of thing." Her smile faltered. "Oh, so you're not supportive." "I didn't say that. But you implied, Miss Michaels, can I tell you something off the record?" She hesitated, then nodded. "My son is very talented, very ambitious, and I love him. But this," I gestured toward the great room, toward the noise and cameras and champagne, "this isn't what my brother wanted, and I'm not sure it's what I want either." "Then why allow it?" "Good question." "Because sometimes," I said quietly, "you have to let people make their own choices, even when those choices hurt you, even when you know they're wrong." She studied me. "That sounds like you're planning something. Does it?" Before she could respond, Lisa appeared in the hallway. "Zoe, there you are. We need you for photos with the county commissioner." I was just, "Now, please?" Lisa's voice had steel underneath the sweetness. I followed her back to the great room, smiled for photos I didn't want, stood beside people I didn't know, pretended to be part of something I opposed with every fiber of my being, and I recorded every second. Around 2 p.m., Justin called everyone to attention again. The crowd had thinned slightly, some people had left, new people had arrived. The champagne kept flowing. "Before we wrap up, I want to make one more announcement." Justin looked at Lisa, who nodded encouragingly. "Lisa and I have been working on something special, a tribute to the man who made all this possible." The screen changed, a slideshow of Daniel. Photos I'd never seen before: Daniel hiking, Daniel reading, Daniel working on the lodge. Where had Justin gotten these? "Daniel Keller was my uncle," Justin said, voice thick with emotion. Real emotion, I thought, surprised. "He taught me about hard work, about vision, about not being afraid to dream big. When I was a kid, I'd come here every summer and he'd take me into the mountains, show me how to read trail markers, how to respect the wilderness, how to be present." The room was silent. Even I was caught off guard. He was more than an uncle to me. He was a second father, and when he got sick, I promised him I'd take care of this place. I'd make sure it thrived, not just survived. Justin's voice cracked. "This resort is my promise kept. This is me honoring him." He was crying, actual tears on his face. And the terrible thing was, I believed him. Not about the resort, but about the grief, about the love. He really thought he was doing the right thing. Lisa stepped forward, handed him a tissue, put her arm around him. "Daniel would be so proud," she said softly, but the microphone caught it. The room erupted in applause. I stood frozen, caught between fury and heartbreak. Because how could he be both? How could he love Daniel and destroy everything Daniel valued? How could he cry real tears while forging my signature and planning to erase me? People always talk about evil like it's simple, like bad people wear signs, like you can spot them from a distance. But evil, real evil, looks like your son crying for his uncle while selling that uncle's legacy to the highest bidder. Looks like love and betrayal wearing the same face. The party finally ended around 4 p.m. The last guests trickled out promises to be in touch, excitement about investment opportunities, congratulations all around. The staff began cleanup. Lisa directed them with clipboards and efficiency. Justin stood by the door, shaking hands, playing the gracious host. I slipped upstairs to my room, closed the door, locked it, and finally let myself break. I cried into my pillow so no one would hear. Cried for Daniel. Cried for the son I'd lost somewhere along the way. Cried for myself, for the woman who'd worked so hard and sacrificed so much and still ended up here alone in a room in a house that was supposed to be hers but felt like enemy territory. My phone buzzed. Text from Mr. Patterson. Got everything we need. Monday morning, 9 a.m. we file. This ends then. Monday. 2 more days of pretending. I could do that. I'd been pretending my whole life. Mom, can I come in, Justin? I wiped my face, checked the mirror. Eyes red, but not obviously crying. Good enough. It's open. He came in slowly, like approaching a scared animal. Sat in the chair by the window without being invited. Today was good, he said. Really good. The investors are excited. The press coverage will be amazing. We're ahead of schedule on everything. I didn't respond. Mom, I know this has been hard for you. Change is always hard, but I need you to see this is good for all of us. You'll have financial security. I'll have a career that matters. Lisa and I can build a life here, and Daniel's legacy continues. Daniel's legacy, I said quietly, was silence, space, peace. How is this that it's evolution? Things can't stay the same forever. Why not? Because that's not how life works. You of all people should know that. You evolved. You went from factory work to medical assistant to office manager. You didn't stay stuck in the past. I evolved out of necessity, not ambition. There's a difference. Is there? He leaned forward. Mom, I know you think I'm being selfish, but I'm thinking about the future, about legacy, about making the Keller name mean something beyond one old lodge in the mountains. It already meant something. To you and Uncle Daniel. But what about to the world? What about to my future kids? What about to the community? This resort creates jobs, brings tourism, puts Whiteout County on the map. He was so earnest, so convinced. Justin, I said slowly, when you were 7, do you remember what you wanted to be when you grew up? Mom, do you remember? He sighed. A park ranger. I wanted to be a park ranger like in the movies. You wanted to protect wild spaces. You used to make me promise we'd never cut down the tree in our apartment complex parking lot because birds nested there. You cried when they built that strip mall where the empty lot used to be. I was a kid. You were yourself, before the world taught you that value and price were the same thing. That's not fair. Isn't it? We sat in silence. Outside, the sky was turning purple with dusk. I'm trying to build something here, Justin finally said. Can't you see that I'm trying to be more than just ordinary? You were never ordinary to me, but I am to everyone else. I'm just another middle-class guy with a business degree and student loans and a mediocre job. This, he gestured broadly. This could make me someone. Make us someone. There it was, the heart of it. Not greed, not malice, just a desperate need to matter. Oh, Justin, I said and my voice broke. You've always been someone. You just haven't been looking in the right direction to see it. He looked at me, then really looked, and for a second I saw the boy again, the one who thought I hung the moon. Then his phone buzzed. He glanced at it. That's Richard. He stood, hesitated. We're having dinner brought in. You should come down. Join us. I'm tired. Okay, but Mom, this is happening. Monday we start the permit finalization process. This is real now. I know. He left. I sat in the chair he'd vacated, feeling the warmth he'd left behind, and wondered how much longer I could stand this. Sunday morning I woke to silence. The house felt different. Empty. I went downstairs in my robe. Found a note on the kitchen counter. Mom, Lisa and I went to Denver for meetings. Back late tonight. Help yourself to anything in the fridge. Love you. J. The house was mine again. Temporarily. Barely. I made coffee. Sat at the kitchen table. Looked out at the mountains turning gold in the sunrise. This was what Daniel had wanted me to have. This stillness. This peace. I pulled out my phone. Looked at the recording from yesterday. 4 hours of footage. Every word. Every promise. Every lie. Then I called Mr. Patterson. Mrs. Keller, I was just about to call you. I'm ready. Whatever happens tomorrow, I'm ready. Good, because I have news. The county commissioner who attended yesterday, he recognized the Silver Peak logo. Called me this morning. They've been investigated before predatory investment practices, elder exploitation. He's flagging the permits for review. What does that mean? It means we have an opening. It means tomorrow when we file the reversion clause, there won't be any delays. The county will support it. And Justin, we'll lose the lodge. But Mrs. Keller, he won't face criminal charges. The investigation will stop at civil penalties for Silver Peak. Your son will walk away with nothing but his dignity intact. Does he deserve that? After everything. That's not my call. That's yours. I looked out at the mountains. Thought about Daniel. About the boy Justin used to be. About the mother I'd tried so hard to become. Dignity intact, I said finally. That's enough. Monday morning arrived like Judgment Day. Justin and Lisa returned late Sunday night. I heard them come in, heard their voices low in conversation, heard them finally go to bed around 2 a.m. I'd been awake the whole time. At 7 a.m. I got dressed. Same navy dress from Saturday. Same pearl earrings. Armor disguised as elegance. I went downstairs, made coffee, waited. Justin appeared at 7:30, already dressed for business. Morning, Mom. Big day, final permit approval should be coming through. This is it. Justin, I need to talk to you. Can it wait? I've got the 8 a.m. conference call with... No, it can't wait. Something in my voice stopped him. He set down his coffee cup. Okay, what's wrong? Lisa appeared in the doorway, sensing tension. I looked at my son, at the man I'd raised with every ounce of strength I had, and I said the words that would change everything. I know about the forged signatures. I know about Silver Peak's 60% equity stake. I know about the buyout clause where you plan to pay me $250,000 for property worth over $1 million. I know you've been planning this since before Daniel died. Justin's face went white. Lisa grabbed the doorframe. Mom, I know everything, Justin. Daniel left me documentation, emails, contracts. He knew. He'd known for months before he died. That's not what we were exploring. Stop lying to me. My voice cracked like thunder. Stop lying and just tell me the truth, for once. Just the truth. Silence. Then Justin's face crumpled. Not performatively, really crumpled. He sank into a chair, head in his hands. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. Lisa moved toward him, but I held up my hand. Let him speak. I didn't mean for it to be like this, Justin said. I just were drowning Mom. In debt. Student loans, credit cards, the house payment. I got laid off 6 months ago. Lisa's job barely covers our expenses. When Uncle Daniel got sick, I started thinking, if he left the lodge to someone, if there was a way to make it profitable. So you plan to steal it. I planned to save it. The property taxes alone are unsustainable. I wasn't lying about that. The lodge would drain you dry within a year. I was trying to create something sustainable, something that could support all of us. By cutting me out. By protecting you from financial ruin. That was my choice to make, not yours. We stared at each other across the kitchen. Years of love and disappointment and misunderstanding filling the space between us. Lisa finally spoke, voice small. Zoe, I pushed him. This was my idea. The business plan, the investors, everything. Justin just wanted to save the lodge. I wanted to save us. By committing fraud. We were going to tell you, she insisted. After everything was set up. After you could see it working. We just needed time. You needed control, I corrected. That's not the same thing. My phone buzzed. Text from Mr. Patterson. I'm at the county office. Whenever you're ready. I looked at my son, at my daughter-in-law, at these two people who'd betrayed me while convinced they were helping. I have to go, I said. Where? To meet with Mr. Patterson, to file the reversion clause that Daniel put in place specifically to prevent this. Justin stood up fast. The what? Reversion clause. If the property is used for commercial activity or profit by family members, ownership automatically transfers to the National Land Trust. It becomes protected parkland. Nobody gets it. That's not he wouldn't. He did, 3 years ago, right after you brought that friend who turned out to be a property appraiser. Justin's face went slack with shock. He knew. He loved you, but he knew. Lisa grabbed Justin's arm. There has to be another way. We can fix this. It's already done, I said. I'm just making it official. I picked up my purse, headed for the door. Mom, wait, please. Justin's voice broke. Don't do this. I know I messed up. I know I lied, but there has to be another way. Please, let's just talk. I stopped, didn't turn around. I'm tired of talking, Justin. I've been talking my whole life. Trying to explain myself, justify my choices, make myself smaller so other people could grow. I'm done. So you're just going to throw away our relationship over a house? No. I turned, then looked him in the eye. You threw away our relationship when you decided I was too old to matter. When you forged my signature. When you planned to buy me out of my own life. I'm just honoring the boundary my brother set. The one he set because he loved me more than you do. That's not fair, I love you. Then why did you treat me like this? Silence. Because there was no good answer, I left. Mr. Patterson's office felt different this time. Calmer, more final. The reversion papers were spread on his desk. Official, notarized, waiting for my signature. Once you sign these, he said gently, the transfer begins immediately. The lodge goes to the National Land Trust. Your son's permits are invalidated. Any contracts he signed become void. Silver Peak gets nothing. You get nothing. But it's protected. Protected, I echoed. The way Daniel wanted. I picked up the pen. It was heavier than it should have been. Mrs. Keller, Mr. Patterson said quietly. I need to tell you something. Off the record. I looked up. I have grandchildren, 3 of them, and I love them beyond measure. But if I thought they'd do this to me, forge my signature plan to erase me, I'd do exactly what you're doing. You're not being cruel. You're being honest. And sometimes that's the same thing. Tears pricked my eyes. I looked down at the papers, saw Daniel's name, saw my name, saw the words that would end one thing and protect another. I signed. The call came 2 hours later. I was sitting in the lodge great room, my great room now for the next few days anyway, when Justin burst through the door. What did you do? I looked up from my coffee. I signed the reversion papers. The county just called. All our permits are invalidated. The contracts are void. Silver Peak is threatening to sue. They can't. It's all legal. You destroyed everything. I protected what mattered. He stood there, chest heaving, face red. Then he laughed. Sharp, bitter. This is really what you want. You'd rather have nothing than let me try to build something. I'd rather have truth than your version of family. Lisa appeared behind him. She'd been crying. We're ruined, Zoe. We put our savings into deposits. We promised investors. We're going to lose everything. Then you'll know how it feels. How can you be so cold? I'm not cold, I said quietly. I'm just finally warm enough to notice when other people are frozen. Justin shook his head. This isn't over. We'll contest this. We'll fight it. You'll lose. Maybe. But at least I'll have tried. At least I'll have stood up for myself instead of just accepting whatever scraps people throw me. The words hit like a slap. Is that what you think? I stood. That I accepted scraps. Didn't you? You worked 2 jobs for minimum wage, lived in a crappy apartment, drove a car held together with prayer, while Uncle Daniel had this. He gestured angrily at the lodge, and you just smiled and said we were blessed. We were blessed. We were poor. We were loved. My voice echoed off the wood beams. I gave you everything I had, Justin. Everything. My time, my money, my health. I worked myself to bone so you could have opportunities I never had. And you're standing here telling me that wasn't enough. I'm saying you taught me to settle. I taught you to be grateful. Same thing. We stared at each other, a gulf wider than the room between us. Get out, I said finally. This is my family's. It's not. Not anymore. The papers are filed. The trust takes possession in 72 hours. Until then, it's mine. And I want you gone. Lisa pulled at Justin's arm. Come on, we should go. But Justin didn't move. His face had gone from angry to something else. Something lost. I thought I was doing the right thing, he said softly. I really did. I thought I was building our future. You were building your future. There's a difference. So what do I do now? I don't know, Justin. Figure it out like I did. Work 2 jobs, drive a crappy car, live small, and maybe learn what enough actually looks like. He turned and walked out. Lisa followed. The door closed. I stood alone in the great room and felt something crack open in my chest. Not breaking. Opening. Like light getting in. That night I sat on the porch with 2 cups of coffee. One for me. One for the ghost of my brother. The stars were infinite. The air was cold. The mountains were silent witnesses. I did it, Danny, I whispered. I don't know if I did it right, but I did it. No answer, just wind through the pines. I thought about Justin, about the boy he'd been and the man he'd become, about whether there was ever a way back from betrayal, or if some things once broken stayed broken. I thought about Daniel's letter, about how he'd known and tried to protect me and succeeded even from the grave. I thought about myself, about the woman I'd been small, quiet, grateful for scraps, and the woman I was becoming. Bigger, louder, hungrier for truth. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. I opened it. It was a photo. Justin as a child, maybe 6 or 7, sitting on Daniel's shoulders at the edge of the ridge. Both of them laughing. Both of them whole. Below the photo, I found this in my old stuff. I don't remember that kid, but I wish I did. Jay, I stared at the photo for a long time. Then I typed, he's not gone. He's just lost. Come find him. I hit send before I could think better of it. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Finally, how I looked out at the mountains. At the lodge. At the life Daniel had given me and the choice I'd made to protect it. Start by being honest. With yourself. With me. With everyone. And then we'll see. Can we have coffee tomorrow? Just coffee. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed to protect myself, to keep the boundary, to stay safe. But safety had never been the same as living. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Bring Lisa. Thank you. I set down my phone, picked up both coffee cups, went inside. Tomorrow would come with its own challenges, its own choices, its own possibilities. Tonight I would sleep in Daniel's house, my house, for the last time before it became something bigger than either of us. And that felt right. Not happy, not sad, just right. The sign at the entrance read White Elk Lodge, Conservation and Education Center. The lodge looked almost the same from the outside. Same wood beams, same stone chimney, same windows facing the ridge. But inside, things had changed. 8 modest guest rooms simply furnished. A common space with books and board games. A teaching kitchen for the environmental education programs we ran with local schools. No spa, no infinity pool, no champagne brunches. Just peace. I lived in the master bedroom now, Daniel's old room. Every morning I woke up to sunrise over the mountains and felt him there. Not haunting, just present. Settled. The programs were Justin's idea, actually. After that coffee meeting, which had lasted 4 hours and involved more tears than I'd thought possible, we'd talked about what could be instead of what had been planned. He worked here now, not as owner. As education coordinator, leading school groups on nature hikes, teaching kids to identify trees and track wildlife, making minimum wage and loving it more than he'd ever loved the resort dream. Lisa ran our booking system and social media. Photos of deer at dawn, not people in bathrobes. Stories about conservation, not luxury. She'd cut her hair short, stopped wearing designer labels, started smiling real smiles. They lived in town now. A small apartment. Paid their bills. Slowly worked down their debt. Visited every Sunday for dinner. It wasn't perfect. There were still moments of tension, things unsaid, wounds not fully healed. But we were trying. All of us. The trust owned the lodge, but they'd hired me as resident caretaker. Modest salary, free housing purpose. More than enough. I stood on the porch now with my morning coffee watching a school bus pull up. 23rd graders tumbled out excited and loud. Justin appeared from the barn, converted to a nature center with his clipboard and that smile I remembered from when he was 7. "Morning, Mom." "Morning." He waved, then turned to greet the kids. "All right, explorers, who's ready to learn about mountain ecosystems?" Enthusiastic chaos in response. I watched him work, watched him be genuinely good at something that didn't require lying or manipulating or forgetting who he was. My phone buzzed. Text from Sarah Michaels, the reporter article goes live today. Wanted you to see it first. Link attached. I clicked it. From Resort to Refuge, how one woman chose legacy over profit. The piece told our story, not sanitized, not prettied up. The real version: betrayal, reversion clause, family fracture, slow healing. It ended with a quote from me. Sometimes love means saying no. Sometimes protecting someone means letting them fall. Sometimes the best inheritance you can leave isn't property, it's truth. I read it twice, cried a little, texted back, "It's perfect. Thank you." Inside my laptop was open to the guestbook entry I'd started this morning. The National Trust had asked all their resident caretakers to keep journals, record their experiences, document the healing process. I scrolled to my first entry 6 months ago, Zoe Keller, lost angry, starting over. And my entry from this morning, Zoe Keller, here, present, enough. Outside, Justin's voice carried across the yard. "Who can tell me what makes aspen trees special?" A kid shouted. "They all share the same roots." Exactly, they look like separate trees, but underground they're connected. One organism, that's called a colony. I smiled. Family was like that too, I thought. You could cut the visible connections, but the roots remained. Underground, invisible, waiting for the right conditions to grow again. Maybe that was enough. That evening I sat on the porch with coffee. Still 2 cups. One for me, one for Daniel. A car pulled up, Justin and Lisa for Sunday dinner. But someone else got out with them. A girl, teenager, unfamiliar. Justin walked her toward the porch. "Mom, this is Maya. She's starting as our summer intern, environmental science student at Colorado State." I stood. "Welcome, Maya." She smiled nervously. "Thank you, Mrs. Keller. This place is amazing. I've read all about the reversion clause and the conservation model. It's exactly the kind of program I want to work in." "Well, you've come to the right place." Justin met my eyes. Something passed between us. Pride, understanding, forgiveness earned, not given. "I'll show Maya the guest rooms," Lisa said. "Come on, you'll love how simple and beautiful they are." They went inside. Justin lingered. "You okay?" "Yes. You getting there." He paused. "Mom, thank you for the coffee that day, for giving me a chance. Thank you for taking it." He kissed my forehead. "Dinner in 20. Perfect." He went inside. I stayed on the porch watching the sun set behind the ridge. The mountains were eternal. The aspens would change colors and lose leaves and grow them again. The lodge would stand. The programs would continue. The healing would happen slowly in inches in moments like this. Daniel's ghost sat beside me. I could feel him, not see him, just feel. "We did it," I whispered. Not the way I thought, but we did it. Wind answered, gentle, warm, certain. I sipped my coffee, set down the second cup, stood. Inside, dinner was being prepared. Laughter floated through the open door. My family, broken and healing and trying, waited for me. I picked up both cups, went inside, left the door open for the mountain air, left space for what might still come, left myself open to being enough. Finally,